Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, planning board commissioners and staff, and please welcome to the City of Paterson Planning Board meeting, special meeting of Monday, May 3rd, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. via webinar session. I am Margarita Vega, your board secretary, and now turning the meeting over to Chairwoman Janice Northrop. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Would everyone please rise for the flag salute?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Good evening, everyone. Commissioners, planning board staff, ladies and gentlemen, as chairwoman of the City of Paterson's Planning Board, I call this meeting of 5/3/21 to order. I hereby state that all the provisions of the state of New Jersey's public meeting law have been fully and completely met, that the notice of provisions required have been properly posted in the Planning Board office and with the City of Paterson clerk, that the public notice and advertisements have been published in the Herald News on 4/22/21 in accordance with the law, and that the copies of such notice and public advertisements are on file in the Planning Board office, as is also the agenda listing the applications to be taken up by the Planning Board at this meeting. The procedures tonight will be in accordance with the rules, regulations, and bylaws as heretofore determined by the Planning Board at its office in the municipal complex in the City of Paterson. Roll call, please.
Commissioners, Commissioner Fisher.
Present.
Commissioner Ahmed is absent. Commissioner Brooks.
Here.
Commissioner Savalos.
Present.
Commissioner Cleves is absent. Commissioner Santana.
Present.
Commissioner Issa is absent. Commissioner Eugene is absent. Commissioner Figueroa.
Present.
Councilman Kalik.
None.
Thank you. And Chairwoman Northrop.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, this evening we have two special meetings. We will begin with the first meeting at 6:30. I'll read to you something from the governor's office. Notice pursuant to the Open Public Meeting Act addressing effective coronavirus measures on the next public meeting. Consistent with the coronavirus-related restrictions of Executive Order Number 107, given on Saturday, March 21st, 2020 by Governor Philip D. Murphy, the Planning Board of the City of Paterson will not conduct in-person participation of the public at all future meetings until further notice. However, I'm sorry, I heard somebody. Okay, please mute your mics, everyone. However, public participation will be available by means of communication equipment pursuant to NJSA 10:4-8, commencing on April 15, 2020. Though there may potentially be a practical need for a limited number of administrative, technical, or other city personnel to be present in or near the City Council Chambers, 3rd floor, City Hall, 155 Market Street, Paterson, New Jersey, in-person participation of the public is prohibited. Nevertheless, for reasons of compliance with the said Executive Order Number 107, public participation will be available by calling 973-321-1579, and the meeting ID is 711-680-001, and I will repeat that later on in the meeting. For this Planning Board special meeting on Monday, May 3rd, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. on the date and time that the meeting is scheduled to commence. The public may also participate in the meeting by accessing the website of the City of Paterson, www.patersonnj.gov, and following the email link for the meeting, www.patersonnj.gov/planning board. Okay, Mr. Narakonda, are you representing the first application?
I am.
Which
I am reading my Narakonda on behalf of the applicant.
Okay, the first applicant would be BCB Acquisitions. Okay. Okay, so the applicant proposes to develop a total of 48 new apartments on the second through fourth floors of the existing building, which has a lot size of 12,487 square feet. Lot 7, 171-187 Market Street is an existing 4-story building with retail spaces on the first floor to remain and 3 floors of office space above. The applicant proposes to construct 13 studio units and 3 one-bedroom units on each of the second, third, and fourth floors for a total of 48 units. New lobby and exterior access to Market Street will be constructed for the residential units. New interior stairways for the upper floors are to be constructed. The parcel is located on the north side of Market Street between Cold Street and Church Street within the B4 Central Business District. A parking variance is requested as 48 off-street parking spaces are required and zero spaces are proposed. 7,650 square feet of open space, amenity space is required, and the planning board must determine if the 7,685 square feet proposed meets the requirement. It requires site plan approval and bulk variances. Mr. Deutsch, would you like to give us your review, please?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Property taxes and sewer charges are paid to date. Persons having a 10% or more ownership interest in DCB Acquisition Lines LLC are Anthony Conte of 200 Washington Street, 5th floor, Hoboken, New Jersey. John J. Butler, licensed surveyor of Butler Surveying and Mapping, has prepared a boundary survey dated June 5th, 2019. The survey indicates a 4-story masonry building that is located at the north side of Market Street between Colt Street and Church Street. The parcels have frontage of 150.9 feet on Market Street, a western side lot line that measures 110.21 feet, and eastern side lot line that measures 100 feet, and an irregularly shaped rear lot line that follows 8 of the 9 building rear walls located on the property line. One dimension measuring 47.5 feet includes a building facade maintenance easement 5 feet wide across the entire building. The building appears to cover 100% of the lot. The applicant shall verify same. The parcel has total area of 12,487 square feet, or 0.29% of an acre. Copa Montalbano Architects has prepared a 7-page site plan. 6 pages dated March 4, 2020, and page DE1 dated January 15, 2021. The first page is the cover sheet and indicates the zoning map, the key map, the tax map, the zoning ordinance data, notes, and the drawing schedule. Drawing D1 is the roof and typical floor demo plan. The roof plan indicates that a new membrane will be installed, a masonry knee wall will be reestablished with metal coping as required, the existing mechanical units and penthouse door will be removed, and a new deck and roofing will be provided. Within the existing second, third, and fourth floors, all interior partitions, doors, stairs, and elevator floor will be removed to the subfloor. Both the rear existing fire escapes will be removed. 2 new interior staircases will be constructed, and all windows are to be removed and replaced. Drawing A1 is the ground floor demo construction plan. On the first floor, an existing storefront is to be removed to install a new tenant entry door. Existing partition walls are to be removed, and an additional window is to be removed to install a new entry door. Drawing A2 are the floor plans. The second floor plan indicates 13 studio units, 3 one-bedroom units, a trash room, 2 staircases, and an elevator. The third and fourth floor plans also indicate 13 studio units, 3 one-bedroom units, a trash room, 2 staircases, and an elevator on each floor. Drawing A3 are the building elevations. The Market Street elevation indicates new operable windows will be installed. Masonry work will be done, new awnings and signage will be installed, new lighting and new entry doors will be provided. The Church Street elevation indicates the existing penthouse is to be removed, repointing of old bricks above the adjacent building. The existing fire escape is to be removed and the existing windows are to be removed and replaced. Drawing A4 are also building elevations. The Ellison Street and Colt Street elevations indicate repointing of existing exterior brick above the adjacent buildings, the existing fire escapes to be removed, and the existing penthouse to be removed. Drawing DE1 is the basement floor plan. The basement floor plan indicates total amenity space of 7,685 square feet, which includes a 905 square foot laundry room and a tenant storage area consisting of 48 storage bays and a 6,780 square foot area. Also indicated in the basement is a file room, building storage room, a management office, a meter room, an area to be cleaned for general building storage, and an existing utility room. Of the 48 units proposed on the second through fourth floors, 39 are studio units with sizes of 345, 351, 353, 361, 360, 365, 371, 375, 376, 383, 404, 410, 414, 415, 478, 510, 512, 530, and 537 square feet, and 9 are one-bedroom units containing 621, 629, 680, and 720 square feet. The minimum square footage for a studio unit is 300 square feet, and for a one-bedroom unit, the minimum square footage is 600 square feet. The downtown central historic district is an overlay zone within the B4 zone. The Paterson master plan encourages, and the zoning ordinance has been amended to reflect that residential units are a permitted use in the B4 zone of the city. Any alteration to the exterior of the building requires approval from the Paterson Division of Historic Preservation. An application has been submitted to the Historic Preservation Commission. A memorandum dated February 25th, 2021 from the Paterson Historic Preservation Commission. The Commission recommends that the Planning Board conditionally approve the proposed redevelopment of the subject property. Studio units require 150 square feet of amenity space per unit, and one-bedroom units require 200 square feet of amenity space per unit. A total of 7,500 square feet of amenity space is required. The applicant is proposing 7,685 square feet of amenity space in the basement by providing an individual storage bay for each unit and an on-site laundry room. A parking variance is also requested. 39 studio units and 9 one-bedroom units are proposed. Multi-family buildings require 1.8 parking spaces per unit for studios and one-bedroom units, as a total of 86 off-street parking spaces are required, and a 0 are proposed. A parking variance is requested. The Paterson Parking Authority is able to provide off-street parking in both surface lots and parking decks to apartment renters and owners residing within the central business district. Public transportation is available within this area, and the nearness of business and retail services promotes walkability and reduces the need for each resident to maintain a vehicle. As per prior conditional approvals, the applicant will agree to determine with the building occupants what an adequate number of parking authority spaces are needed and arrange an agreement with the parking authority. The cost is same to be negotiated with those needing full-time parking provided by the authority and the building owner. As the building was completed when the motor age was in its infancy, the upper floor offices were most likely visited by people walking, by trolley, or possibly by horse and carriage. The perceived lack The off-street parking, especially for rehabilitated buildings, should not act as an impediment to redevelop the downtown of the city into a safer 24-hour vibrant downtown center. Any change in the occupancy of the first floor rental spaces shall first be reviewed for compliance by a City of Paterson zoning officer to determine if the proposed use is permitted within the downtown central business district. The residential unit shall not become occupied until a certificate of occupancy for the building is obtained from a City of Paterson zoning officer. Any proposed sign shall be in conformance with section 500-8 of the land development ordinance. Prior to final approval, the applicant shall obtain city engineering approval. Surrounding land uses. This proposal is in the central business district of the city. The building was built in the early 1900s as the Samuel Smith Building. The surrounding neighborhood is composed of many older buildings first built as commercial structures with commercial uses on the first floor and offices and or retail or storage above. There is evidence that some buildings in the area have existing residential uses on the upper floors. Although the first floor uses are still commercial, many of the upper floors are now used for storage or are vacant. The Paterson Master Plan encourages the adaptive reuse of the upper floors of buildings in the central business district for urban residential living in order to create a more active 24-hour downtown and additional economic and commercial activities as a result. In conclusion, the applicant estimates the cost of this proposal at approximately $6 million, and at a planning board meeting held on Tuesday, March 30th, 2021, the board granted conditional approval to a proposal at 167 Market Street, the building that is located directly to the west of this proposal. The applicant is to develop a total of 12 new units on the second through fifth floors of the existing building, and first floor retail is to remain. That is your staff review of this proposal, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you, Mr. Deutsch. Mr. Maricondo?
Yes, thank you again. Good evening, Madam Chair, as well as Commissioners. First of all, thank you also for hearing us on a special meeting basis. We understand how heavy the volume is before this planning board. This is a project that Mr. Deutsch has summarized completely and accurately in all respects, Commissioners. This is a site that I know the Commissioners are very familiar with in the downtown business district, and also the fact that this board has now fortunately reviewed several applications of a similar nature whereby applicants are taking the initiative and taking the step to develop the upper levels of these downtown historic buildings, which, as Michael accurately described, were often always used for many, many years as office space or storage related to the business use on the first floor. Also the concept being that the master plan and this particular zone under the ordinance encourages and wishes applicants to develop this so that the vibrancy of the downtown business district, which was so much a part of the city's history for over a century, can continue its resurgence, and that's really the goal of this applicant, to continue that process and continue that trend. So we do agree with Mr. Deutsch's report, and in all respects, we have worked with the Historic Commission already, and as per Mr. Deutsch's report, we're in good standing with them with regard to the approval for this project. We have already discussed with the parking authority if the need arises with respect to the parking, which of course is very close nearby. So I think all mechanisms are in place, subject to this planning board's review for the moving forward of this project. My client, Mr. LeConte, is an experienced developer, real estate, commercial and residential, built other sites in Paterson as well as other parts of northern Jersey, and he'll be available to confirm the architect's testimony as well this evening. So that being said, we're going to call on Mr. Steve Kopp as our first witness.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Mr. Say his name again? Thank you. Got it.
Please raise your right hand. Hold on, I'm trying to see you. Can I see? I can see you.
Oh, you swear upon testimony about to give us the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please say your full name for the record.
Stephen M. Coppa, COPPA, 97 Lackawanna Avenue, Togo, New Jersey. I'm a principal in Coppa Montalbano Architects.
Thank you, Mr. Copper. Just give us a brief summary of your professional licensing and your background before municipal boards. I know you've appeared before this board many times.
Yes. My firm was started in 1956 in the city of Paterson. My cousin Harold Camaro was the principal. The gentleman named Joe Tischler. They moved to this building that we were making the application on in the late 60s. I was still in college. And we stayed there until mid-80s, 1984, we moved to 100 Hamilton Plaza. So we're intimately familiar with this building and all its workings. The building has always been an office building with retail.
Wait, I just need to, I need to confirm your credentials for the record.
Sure. 40 years in practice. I have a Bachelor's of Architecture from Catholic University in Washington, D.C., and a Master's of Architecture from the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia.
And appeared before many municipal boards, of course, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We accept as an expert witness. Please continue.
Thank you. Madam Chair, I'm having a little difficulty here at this office. Anyone else?
I am too, slightly. Maybe we need to turn up.
You only move closer to the microphone. Sometimes that.
Yeah, that's a little bit better. Yeah.
I think that we need to mute our mics. If we can mute our mics.
Okay, Mr. Copper, so you had an opportunity to prepare the site plan pursuant to this application, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, and obviously you've heard Mr. Deutsch's extensive report. Could you give us an overview of what the applicant's intentions are?
Yes, Michael covered it very accurately. Mr. LeConte, who is here tonight, can confirm that this is an adaptive reuse of the Smith building. As I said, I was in this building from probably early 70s to mid-84. It's a 4-story building, 3 of which were office space at the time, and to a certain extent still are. The lower floor on Market Street was always retail, and it will remain as same. Our program was to develop studios and 1-bedrooms. Therefore, we had to reconfigure the core. You want us to pull up the drawing, Mr. Arcana? Would you like us to feature the plan?
Yes.
Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Yeah. So we'll go to our main floor. So floors 2 through 4 will be residential floors. As I said, if you look at the Smith building now, the entry to the building is in the center of 171, 181. It's a single stair, single elevator, and you can see that in the dotted line that the cursor is showing you now. And it had only really one exit from the building. The other exit were through fire escapes, which exited through windows to the rear of the building. And then we had a passage from the courtyard area to the rear of the building through 9 Church Street. That still exists, and it was still operating as a emergency egress. We're going to abandon that and create 2 new stairs. We'll go to the plan now. 2 new code-conforming fire stairs, an elevator lobby, and an elevator. That will make this building conform to the current IBC requirements for the residential construction we propose. The mix of studios versus 1-bedrooms was a marketing desire that we backed up in an attempt to, as Mr. Deutsch has pointed out, be more consistent with the master plan, the most recent master plan, in providing residential units. With the opportunity for public transportation, it fits the goal. Our intention was to have the future residents of this building partake of the bus and train mass transit that is available in this area. So we did not propose to put additional parking on street or off street. What we did do is secure a letter from Mr. Perez, dated January 19th, 2021, which would give us a lease of up to 48 spaces as the need was required. We have that as an exhibit signed by Mr. Perez, January 19th, 2020. That would be the Wolf Street garage, obviously, or the Ellison Street garage that are currently constructed and in use. We would like to see...
Henry, I'm just gonna ask if you could speak up a little bit more, because as you're speaking, you're kind of fading.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I have to go directly to the camera, I'm not trying to avoid you. Okay, so the parking requirement, which we have been following as one per unit, would be adequately covered in the lease agreement that Mr. Perez has given Mr. Latanti for this project. It's a matter of public record, be happy to share that letter with you.
Excuse me, we're on fading again.
Yeah, just speak up to that.
Yeah.
We have a letter from Mr. Perez, as parking authority, providing with up to 48 spaces.
Okay.
By agreement. Okay. The units will be new, up to date, lit, ventilation, air conditioning, of course, to code requirements. We think it's a nice fit to this building. Obviously, office space is not as in demand as it once was, and this fits the neighborhood better, actually. And going back to the model of retail at the first floor, mixed use, and residential above. At the lowest level, as again Mr. Deutsch has adequately covered, we're providing amenity space, which in this case would be storage units, one per unit, and a central laundry area with preparation space for the residents. We'd like to see the residents take advantage of the merchants on Market Street and the surrounding streets. There's no laundromat area, so we provided that as an amenity. We think that's a good complement to the uses that we're providing. Want to go to the elevations? We met with Mr. Jim Franco, as we always do before we come to the planning board, to get his agreement on what we're going to do. This is obviously an historic zone. Other than putting some operables in to meet the ventilation code, the windows, the fenestration, the decoration of the building will all remain as they are now. And he's endorsed that and has been kind enough to give out a letter February 25th, 2021, which outlines our agreement on how he'll proceed, and he is in favor of this project based on what we're going to do. I believe that's the scope of the project. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
Mr. Costa, just one or two follow-ups if I may. So what your showing analysis and Mr. Deutsch's indicate no other variances that are required other than the parking presentation which you just covered, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and obviously, in addition to the parking authority, we're on the main corridor of the New Jersey Transit bus lines and very short walk to the train station, is that correct?
That's correct.
And this particular use, in your opinion, is obviously a positive benefit in terms of the continuation of this downtown development.
Yes, and worse. Yes.
That's all I have, Madam Chair, at this time.
Mr. Maraconda, you said you're calling, what, just one other?
Just one of
Yes.
Mr. McConaughey, the owner, yes.
Okay, would you call him now for this, and then we'll, I'll open it up to the public.
Sure. So when are you gonna be calling?
Please raise your right hand, sir. You swear affirm testimony about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
State your full name for the record.
Anthony Locanti.
So, Tony, would you tell us your position with the applicant BCB Acquisitions?
Okay, I'm the CEO of the company. It's basically myself and my family.
Okay, and you've been in the real estate development business for a good number of years, is that correct?
Yes, I have.
And you do all of the real estate in Paterson, which is developed, and we have other matters that are coming down the pike as well, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, good. This particular site, you've heard Mr. Deutsch's presentation, and Mr. Papa's on your behalf. Are you in agreement with that testimony?
Yes,
Okay. And it would be your intention that these are to be rental units, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. That's all I have, Madam Chair, at this time of the applicant.
Okay, thank you. So at this time now, I'm gonna open it up to the public. If anyone in the public has,
Madam Chair, before you open up to the public.
yes, Mr. Aquavino.
Mr. LeConte, you are the actual owner of the property, correct? Personally?
That's correct. Yes, I am.
All right, and the principal of the applicant.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Madam Chair, that's all I have.
You're
Okay,
welcome.
thank you. All right, so at this time, I'm gonna open up to the public. If anyone in the public has any questions of either Mr. Coppa or Mr. LeConte, please call in your questions for those two, people. Call in at 973-321-1579. The meeting ID number is 711-680-001. This is not for comments at this time, it's for questions of either of those two gentlemen. I'll allow 2 minutes for call-ins, 3 minutes for questions. Thank you.
We have no callers at this time.
Okay, so at this time, I'm gonna open it up to the commissioners. Commissioners, any questions of either of these two gentlemen?
This is Commissioner Santana.
Yes, sorry, I hear Commissioner Santana first. Commissioner Santana, go ahead, please.
It seems that the trash room is, but I'm wondering, every company picking up their garbage, and also, do you have included plants?
You're breaking, okay.
Breaking up. I can't.
Yeah, Commissioner Santana, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to repeat your question, speak into the phone because you're breaking up a little bit. Please try again. No. Okay.
I know the next question was regarding garbage refuse, I can ask Steve to address that if you wish.
Okay, let's start with that one first, but I know she had something else also.
Steve, in terms of refuse removal and location in the building, could you give us an update on that?
Yes, it's our intention that it would be curbside pickup. Residents would bring it down, as it is right now. There's no other way to access these buildings along Market Street other than that.
And all the commercial buildings and mixed-use buildings do the same, that's your testimony?
That's correct.
Right. And how about the collection of it within the confines of the building, or are they just simply taken from unit to street? Could you go over that again?
Yes, that's what we intend to do. Each floor will have a room, and then the collection will occur at the schedule of the pickup, and it will be brought to the curbside.
Steve, is anticipated that there'll be...
Wait, excuse me, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut anybody off. I hear somebody's microphone is on. I want the microphones turned off because I can't hear and neither can the court reporter. So let's turn all the microphones off so that the court who's talking? Turn the microphones off. Okay, thank you. All right, so now once again, can you please repeat that so that Commissioner Santana can hear you, please?
Sure. So Steve, the collection will take place on each floor, and will there be a super or a building manager that handles the removal to curbside? Explain how that would work. Steve? You're muted.
You're muted, Mr. Coppa.
Okay. Yes, there will be a management company that takes the garbage and brings it out to the curb. That's correct.
Okay, so that's going to be part of the building maintenance. Okay.
Yes.
I'm not sure if there was a second question, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, you're muted as well.
Okay, I'm sorry. Commissioner Santana, okay, can you repeat the second part of your question?
Okay, so
No. Okay. I'm going to ask you to perhaps, call the secretary and see if she can get your question. And she will ask the question on your behalf.
Madam Chair, if I may,
Yes.
I see Commissioner Santana logged in twice. She's muted in one app and she's not muted.
I will take care of it. I will take care of it. Thank you. I will take care of it.
Okay, great, thank you, then we'll wait, then I'll take questions from anyone else while we're waiting for Commissioner Santana. Commissioner Brooks, did I hear you?
Yes.
Okay,
I have a
go ahead.
question. My question is to Michael first and then to the other.
And your question is? Commissioner Brooks, do you have a question for Mr. Deutsch?
I'm sorry, my mic was off. My question is, on the 7,650 square feet of the open space, you said the board must determine if 7,685 feet square proposal meets the requirement. What's the difference in that? Why wouldn't it meet the requirement when you said it's only 7,650? Why would you ask that question?
Well, I wanted to give the commissioner some leeway in what they felt would be best use of open space, whether it be, obviously a laundry room is a fine use of amenity space, but storage units are good, but there are other options that
Exactly. Okay, that's what I wanted to
suggest.
That's what I was asking. Okay, my next question is to Mr. Locanti, is that the seller? My question is when these building types are used to be used for residential, like in the second and fourth floor, I think that's a great use. However, I do believe that there should be a community room and some of that amenity space so that the tenants would have like a community room if they wanted to invite somebody. Because one bedrooms and studios is not enough. And I mean, it would be nice if you would agree to give some community space so that the tenants would have that.
I think we're gonna, I can speak to that. I think you're correct, and I think that, we can arrange for that. My big thing was throughout the whole process is that, all of Main and Market Street is an amenity here. I mean, the site is so, the reason we like it so much, and we think the use is good, is because, the smaller units actually lend themselves because it's in a transit zone. And, I think that the storage space is really important for the micro type units, because, you can actually, every season put stuff in it from spring, summer to fall, winter. So we don't want to take too much away from the smaller, but I think it's an essential use for the smaller type units. But I think we can accommodate, maybe a little sitting area where people can actually sit and meet. Yeah, I think we can do that. We'll, that's a design feature. We'll look at that, Steve, and try to accommodate that, see how we can best do that. I think it's a good thing.
I'm going to ask you to look at that. I believe, Mr. Aquaniva, when they have to make those arrangements this evening, if this is what we're voting on?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I can't hear. Somebody's mic is on, it seems to be.
I agree.
Yeah, it's really bad.
It's really bad, and I'm trying to get Santana to go back.
Now I can't hear anyone.
Maggie, I'm here. All right. I'm gonna hope that you can get Santana back on the phone.
I'm working on that.
I know you are. And somebody else has their, not only their mic on, but background, like TV or something like that on. That's what I hear. I hear a lot of like basic stuff in the background, which is a no-no. But while we're doing this, I want to talk to Mr. Aquaviva. Mr. what is going on with Commissioner Kalik? Is that Commissioner Kalik? What's happening?
Councilman Kalik.
Yeah, I meant Councilman. It looks like it's okay.
And Commissioner Santana is back on.
Wait, Councilman, I don't even hear you. I think you're muted. Okay.
I hear you, Madam Chair. So, you got a question for me?
Well, yes, I do have a question. Excuse me. I have a question for you, yes. The question is, okay, if they're going to make arrangements to make some sort of a community room, okay, on these plans, it has to be done this evening. Am I correct? Don't we have to see where they're gonna put it and how big it's going to be so we can vote on it?
Not necessarily so, Madam Chair. If council
Okay.
wants to take testimony on where this room is going to be and how big it's gonna be, the board can vote on it, subject to revised plans.
Okay, that's what I meant, but we have to know. But we have to know like how big, that's what I meant. Okay, we have to know how big, what floor, so forth and so on. Okay, so, Mr. Maricondo, would you need like a few minutes to discuss this?
No, I think that we can do this on the fly with Mr. Coffin directly. I'll
Okay.
attempt to do so.
Okay.
Obviously, you've heard that dialogue with the commissioners. We have provided the laundry and storage space, which we do think are important. Is there a way we can accommodate these units with an additional, some sort of passive recreation type of community room?
Yes, we're gonna show you a floor plan of the lower level.
Okay.
Screen share, can you all see that?
Yes.
So we have very generous storage spaces. So where the laundry room is right next to it, we could eliminate those 8 units and make an 8 room there. And then redistribute those 8 units in the other storage spaces, make them a little bit smaller each proportional. And that would work very nicely.
That's an easy amendment to make to your plan, obviously.
Yeah.
The spacious storage space gets cut back a little bit, and we have this opportunity to provide a community room for all events.
A generous one, yes. And then it would be contiguous to the laundry space, so if tenants bring their kids, and they want to watch them while they're doing their laundry, they have a space they can put them in that room, or they could dedicate that room to a meeting, if they're gonna have an association meeting, et cetera, et cetera. So we're more than happy to provide that for them.
Okay, that's the way we'd like to present it, Madam Chair, at this time.
Okay, that's fine, yes, Mr.
One
Acquaviva.
question for Mr. Coffin.
Yes.
Mr. Coffin, if you can you estimate what the square footage of that room would be in place of the 8 storage units? You don't have to be exact, you're gonna be submitting revised plans, but I would like the board to have an idea of how big that space is proposed to be.
It'll be plus or minus 500 square feet.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That's it.
Okay, so in the meantime, I go back to Commissioner Santana. I still hear some rumbling in the back. Commissioner Santana, can you ask your question?
Yes, I'm very sorry for the inconvenience.
No worries.
The question was regarding the recycling. Are you gonna include recycling in the trash room in each floor?
Yes, we will.
Okay, and for security reason, are you including more lighting outside the building and secure camera?
There are no building lighting appliances now, but we'd be willing to discuss that with Mr. Archimedes. We're trying to stay as true to the original building as it is now. There is ample lighting at street level because of the retail establishments that are there, but we will discuss it with them. And if we can find something that is commodious and in period, we certainly will add it to the exterior. At street level, that's street level.
Commissioner Santana?
Thank you so much.
Okay, no worries. You're welcome. Any other question? Yes, Commissioner Ceballos.
Yes, thank you. For Mr. Coppa, besides the windows and everything that you mentioned before, which are any other conditions that the Historic Preservation Commission has put in writing for this building?
Yes, and we met with Archimedes. We went through the details of the exterior in detail. We have an agreement he stated in his letter of February 25th. I opened that up, Barry, in the beginning of the conversation. He's in complete agreement with the
retooling and rejoinery and cleaning up the masonry, that's there. The building's in very good shape. It's in excellent shape, especially the exterior. So we're making no changes in it. We're just gonna do some maintenance and cleanup. It is report of February 25th.
Okay, thank you. What about any fire suppression system, like a frequency system?
Yes, it'll have to be fully fire suppressed by code, yes, that's correct.
Okay. Now, I have and the application and the proposal, which is mentioned about, let me see here, total 48 off-street parking spaces.
Correct.
And when we look at the other page about the variance, we talk about 86. So which one is it?
48. We have a letter from...
48?
Yes, 48. We can lease up to 48 spaces from the Paterson Parking Authority by agreement.
I want to say something to that, if I may. I want to interrupt, I want to say something to that. Go ahead. Yeah, we're actually looking at this building here. It's really experimental to see if it works. I think it will, and it's going to actually, I think it's going to create a certain vibe for that downtown. The customer that we're looking at is most likely a younger professional who basically doesn't really have a car. He uses, whether it's a zip car on the weekends, whether it's Uber, whether he's using mass transit. I think that, the customer that we're targeting is a little bit, more on, today, really cars have become an extent. I have 4 kids, none of them have cars, They either use Uber, on the weekends they rent a zip car, but really, that's really the customer that we're looking for. So we want to build a different product that Paterson doesn't have. I believe that there's a need for that in Paterson, and nobody's really tapping into it. I think that, what we want to do with the small units is actually make them very nice, good living space, even though they're small, designed really smart, and at the same time, we know exactly who our customer is, It's young, he gets on either on the bus or he's gonna walk to the train, you're right in the transit hub, and, I think that's why, we believe, we did a similar project, small project, a little different, but in Hoboken, and basically, the parking requirements for these users were 0.4. And, a lot of the rental units that we're doing now, with all this ample parking, more than half of the parking spaces are rented to people from the outside, not the renters inside. Because these younger people do not drive as much as we did at one time, So,
Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. Yeah, we obviously, as a part of our presentation, and we appreciate your amplifying it, we pointed out the proximity, public transportation, both bus and train, the ability to take part in all the local business services on a walk-in basis, and we fully thank you for that concept, because we think that is the trend as well. We appreciate, thank you for your comments, I should say, but we also have to be aware, and the board has to be aware of what the technical parking requirement is. That's why the question was
And I also want to point out that if we're going to talk about any lighting on the Market Street area, I believe we have to get the county approval for that anyway.
If there are any encroachments on the county right of way, yeah.
Because it's a county, right, okay, but anyway, I believe...
I have another question.
Yes, Commissioner Zavalius, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Conte, for your extensive narrative. But now, this is something small that which maybe you can help us with. It don't have to be big, but maybe small planters, like small squares with a little shrubs or flowers in front of your building. That would be nice. Don't have to necessarily be something humongous, but something like a show of the character of the building, and you welcome your tenants, you welcome anybody passing by.
Yeah. Before you answer that, let me just say this, that I think Michael will understand this as well. There are some restrictions about that type of landscaping usage on the Market Street downtown area. If you look at the vault area, they call it, it's
I think I got his point. I think we can embellish it and make it something where it's invitable and it's nice. So I think we can work with what we can do, but I think we could accomplish what he's saying because we want to change what the look of Market Street looks like. It should be something where we're basically, we want to make a difference there. We don't just want to, so basically I respect what you said, Mr. Cavalos, and we're going to do something, whether it's planters, if they allow us to do them, or some good architecture on the building, if we can do some graphics maybe on the sign, but something to make it inviting. So it's nice when somebody walks across there.
Right, well, certainly do whatever we can within the boundaries and limitations of both the city and county ordinance, on those sidewalks, because it's very different than other parts of the city.
We got it. Yeah.
Okay, all right, I believe Mr. Aquilini had a question also, or wanted to make a statement?
I do, Madam Chair, but before I do, I just want to make a comment to the board based on the, Mr. LeConte's statement and Mr. Savali's questions. Keep in mind that this is subject to the historic, committee.
Yes.
So, Mr. LeConte is going to be essentially at their mercy in terms of what aesthetically he can do to the building. So, Mr. LeConte, I believe, has very good intentions and he's represented that, but obviously he can't make a representation that he can put a specific type of lighting or a specific type of aesthetic ornament on the building, because that will all be subjected to the historic districts and historic commission's comments on that. So I just wanted to recommendation on that. So I just wanted to point that out. I just had one procedural question. I have a question for Mr. Deutsch, and depending on Mr. Deutsch's question, I might have a question for Mr. Maricondo. Mr. Deutsch, obviously, the parking variance is needed. This is a downtown area. There's been representations made on the record that there's a potential of parking, as we see in a lot of these applications, from the parking authority. Are we making, if this application, if there was a motion to approve this application tonight, are we making it conditioned upon a specific number of spaces that are going to be possibly made available from the parking authority? Or is this application, if there's a motion to approve, made on space based upon your report with the parking variance for 86 spaces?
I'm happy that the applicant provided that letter for 48. I think that is a fair number. Our zoning ordinance requires the number of spaces I put in the report, no matter where a multi-story building such as this would be located, whether it's in the downtown, the historic district, or anywhere else in the city in an R3 or R4 zone. It doesn't take into account whether it's an existing building or a proposed building. So in that respect, I think we need to revisit our zoning ordinance, but I'm happy to accept the 48, one for each unit that the applicant is proposing.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Maricondo, do you have that letter? And if not, will you agree to amend the application on the record to make that a condition of an approval tonight, if there is such a motion?
Right, we do agree to make that amendment, and Mr. Copper referred to it in his testimony, even cited the date of the letter and offered it as an exhibit, although he didn't post it, but it is, I don't know if it's part of anyone's file other than Mr. Copper's, but I will make sure that he forwards it to Mr. Joyce first thing in the morning.
Okay, so, Madam Chair, if I could just be clear, if there's a motion for approval tonight, it is with a variance for 86 off-street parking spaces. That's clear, but it would be conditioned upon the fact that there would be 48 spaces in a parking lot operated by the Paterson Parking Authority in the downtown area.
And Mr. I believe Mr. Joyce's phrasing in his report was on an as-needed basis and the details of the arrangement to be worked out with the authority and prospective tenants.
Right, that's why I'm phrasing it that way. As long as there's 48 spaces made available from a parking lot administered by the parking authority, the details of, the specifics of it, I should say, can be worked out later on.
Right.
Okay, thank you. So if the board has any questions of me based upon that, I'll answer them. Other than that, Madam Chair, I don't have any other questions.
Okay, anybody else have any questions?
Yes,
Was that Commissioner Fisher?
yes.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, a couple of questions actually. One, I think it was Mr. Copa started talking about cameras, but then I couldn't hear everything he said about cameras in the building. Will the tenants have access from their TV sets to look at the cameras in the building, or the cameras of building those to the police department? Can you give us a little bit about any cameras in the building for security?
Mr. Fisher, I was referring to the exterior of the building only. Of course, there'll be security systems within the building, and the owner will discuss that with management.
So there will be outside security cameras, and there will be a system that's in place inside as well, Steve?
I would only commit to inside. Again, you made a good point. We spent quite a bit of time with the Historic Commission. I doubt they're gonna allow us a pertinent outside.
Right.
I think that's a good question, Steve, and I think that, I think the common areas and also the outside, we should provide some type of security.
Yeah,
So, the outside and common areas, we should provide security. Yeah. I don't know if I answered. Yeah, you answered my question. You're in a really big building, and, you're gonna have some blind spots. Walking and putting up mirrors as well, so you can see the blind spot, somebody coming around the corner or whatever. So, the good thing about this building, the way it's designed, it's really not too many blind spots, because it's like a hallway. Yeah. So it's like just open, so you really you don't have like something around the corner, it's just right there. But no point about that in the storage area. On the storage area, for sure, you're gonna need it, 100%, 100%. The common areas will all have security. All right. And my last question is, forgive me if I missed it. They're gonna have the same retail stores on the bottom? No, what we're looking to do is basically, and that's like, we're actually involved in a couple other projects in Paterson. We're looking to basically, I don't know how to put this, but actually upgrade or step up the game of the commercial tenants in Paterson, where we want to basically talk up to the customer instead of talking down to the customer. We want, even if they're buying something that's, not expensive, it's got to look like they're walking into someplace that's nice, clean, presentable, where you're talking up to the customer. So whether it be, we were thinking about some type of work, like cafe on the ground floor, or, we have a cafe, not a bar, no liquor, but just cafe, and people could just, come in with their laptop, work upstairs, and that would be another amenity. So the retail is gonna have to enhance the whole concept of where we're going with the customer, So it's not gonna be, 99-cent stores, you just put stuff out there to look like that, So we're looking to take that concept to our market, and maybe they can carry it to Maine, and also, because I think it's left in a time zone from 1970, we're trying to step it up to 220. So that's.
And Mr. Fisher, I want to follow up with that, because Mr. Joyce was very careful to include in his report that any of the proposed new retail uses along the lines of what Mr. McCarthy is telling you would have to obtain a certificate of occupancy as a new use, and it would have to be a use that's permitted in the downtown business district, and it's absolutely no involvement with liquor at all.
Oh, yeah, I know that, yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, commissioners? Okay, hearing none. Mr. Maricondo, would you like to sum up, please?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I will conclude our testimony. I believe that what you've heard from Mr. Deutsch's report, Mr. Copa's testimony, Mr. McCarthy's testimony, and the dialogue we've had with the commissioners tonight leads us with a very positive application that is another opportunity to continue the trend towards the development of the upper floor levels of the downtown business district, which really is essential to making the downtown district vibrant and functioning and creating business as well as quality of life for residents. So this is where we're going. We think it's positive. We accept all the conditions that the board has talked about tonight. So we ask the board for a motion for approval.
Okay, I'm going to ask Mr. Maricano, can you sum up, there's been a lot of additions, amendments, corrections. Can you sum up so that, should I ask for an emotion? A motion out of somebody, will get the gist of what we're trying to do here.
Sure, we're gonna add the community room by reducing the size of the storage spaces in the basement. And, Mr. Cotta's estimate was about 500 square feet, give or take, for that community room, which will be available to everyone. We're ensuring that there will be cameras and security in all areas that are permitted by the Historic Commission. If possible, we'll add some sort of planters or exterior aesthetic amenity to the building. We also stipulate that the letter from the parking authority with regard to the 48 off-site parking spaces will be binding upon the applicant. Unless Mr. Aquilina has anything else, I think that's it.
Yeah, Mr. Aquilina?
No, that was it, those 3 conditions,
Okay.
or 4 conditions, I'm sorry.
Okay, so I'm going to, ask if anyone would like to make a motion on this application? Commissioners?
I'll make a motion.
Yes, Commissioner Brooks?
On the application of BC Acquisition Line LLC, 200 Washington Street, 5th floor, Hoboken, New Jersey, for the property located at 171-181 Market Street, Block 4406, Lot 7, be granted, subject to site plan approval, block variance, city engineer, Paterson Division of Historic Preservation. Also, a condition that 48 parking units will be negotiated with the Paterson Parking Authority. Also, the community room will be provided, replacing 4 of the storage units with approximately 500 square feet. And also, the camera will be in places of common areas in the basement area and all other common bases in the building. And now if it's 4, I don't know which other one I'm missing. I thought it was just 3 that I wrote down.
Commissioner Brooks, there were 3, but I believe there is a representation that they will, Mr. Maricano, correct me if I'm wrong, for planters or do whatever you can to the exterior of the building, obviously subject to the recommendations of the Historic Commission.
Correct, if possible, yeah?
Yeah. Okay, thank you, and I think it was lighting also, but again, all that's contingent on the county and some other restrictions, so we'll see how that goes, but I think the applicant knows what we're looking for. Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, both Commissioner Ceballos and Commissioner Figueroa seconded the application. Roll call, please.
Commissioners, Commissioner Fisher.
Vice Chair Fisher says yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Brooks.
Yes.
Commissioner Ceballos.
Commissioner Ceballos.
He's muted.
Okay, welcome back.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Santana.
Yes.
Commissioner Figueroa.
Yes.
Councilman Kalik.
Yes.
Thank you, and Chairwoman Northrop.
Yes, congratulations.
We thank you for your consideration this evening.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Okay. Okay. I need a motion to close this portion of the meeting.
Motion to close.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Okay, good enough. All right, so we're gonna go on to the second meeting this evening.
Easy, man. Good people.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
Council Councilman Lee.
yes.
I won't be able to attend the second item on the agenda.
Okay, Councilman, I thank you for attending this evening.
Thank you.
You have a good evening now.
Good day, bye.
Can you give me 2 minutes?
Yes, I can.
Oh,
Okay, whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Good evening, once again, commissioners, staff, and the public. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the City of Paterson Planning Board special meeting of Monday, May 3rd, 2021, beginning at 7 p.m. I will open up the session. This is Margarita Vega, your board secretary. I now hand over the meeting to Chairwoman Janice Northrop. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Please rise again for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Okay. Commissioners, planning board staff, ladies and gentlemen, as chairwoman of the City of Paterson's Planning Board, I call this meeting of 5/3/21 to order. I hereby state that all the provisions of the State of New Jersey Public Meeting Law have been fully and completely met, that the notice of provisions required have been properly posted in the Planning Board office and with the City of Paterson clerk, that the public notice and the advertisements have been published in the Herald News on 4/22/21 in accordance with the law, and that the copies of such notice and public advertisements are on file in the Planning Board office, as is also the agenda listing the application to be taken up by the Planning Board at this meeting. The procedure tonight will be in accordance with the rules, regulations, and bylaws as heretofore determined by the Planning Board at its office in the municipal complex in the City of Paterson. Roll call, please.
Commissioners, Commissioner Fisher,
Present.
Commissioner Ahmed absent, Commissioner Brooks,
Here.
Commissioner Savalos,
present.
Commissioner Cleaves is absent, Commissioner Santana,
Present.
Commissioner Isa is absent, Commissioner Eugene is absent, Commissioner Figueroa,
Present.
and Councilman Kalik is absent, and last is Chairwoman Northrop.
Present.
Thank you.
Okay. Consistent with the coronavirus-related restrictions of Executive Order Number 107, given on Saturday, March 21st, 2020, by Governor Philip D. Murphy, the Planning Board of the City of Paterson will now conduct in-person participation of the public at all future meetings until further notice. However, public participation will be available by means of communication equipment pursuant to NJSA 10:4-8, commencing on April 15, 2020. Though there may potentially be a practical need for a limited number of administrative, technical, or other city personnel to be present in or near the council chambers, 3rd floor, City Hall, 155 Market Street, Paterson, New Jersey, in-person participation of the public is prohibited. Nevertheless, for reasons of compliance with the said Executive Order Number 107, public participation will be available by calling 973-321-1579, and the meeting ID number is 711-680-001, on the date and time that the meeting is scheduled to commence. I will also repeat those numbers a little later on in the meeting. The public may also participate in the meeting by accessing the website of the City of Paterson, www.patersonnj.gov, and following the email link for the meeting, www.patersonnj.gov/planning board. Mr. Maraconda, are you representing the second applicant on tonight's meeting?
Yes, good evening again, Madam Chair. I'm Maraconda, 726 Market Street, Paterson, on behalf of the applicant.
Okay. Avalon Property Construction LLC, 164-168 Atlantic Street, Lot 5402, Lot 10. The applicant proposes to construct a three-story, 12-unit residential building on a vacant lot. The lot contains an area of 7,500 square feet and is located on the southern side of Atlantic Street between Marshall Street and Court Street. The basement indicates gym/community space, a restroom, a refuge room, a laundry room, and 2-meter mechanical rooms. The first floor proposes 4 studio units and a lobby with stair access to the upper floors. The second and third floors propose 4 2-bedroom units on each floor. 12 exterior off-street parking spaces are proposed, 4 of which are in tandem arrangement. Variances are requested for lot area. 16,800 square feet is required and 7,500 square feet is provided. A minimum lot width of 95 feet is required and 75 feet exists. Front yard setback is a minimum of 20 feet is required and 8.71 feet to the cantilevered second floor is proposed. A minimum rear yard setback of 25 feet is required and a rear yard setback of 16 feet and 10 inches is proposed. Exceeding the maximum lot coverage as 40% is permitted and 50% is proposed. Open space, 2,600 square feet is required and 1,040 square feet of open space and amenity space is proposed. And off-street parking, 23 spaces required and 12 spaces are proposed. This proposal is located within the R zone of the Area 11 redevelopment plan, and it requires site plan approval and bulk variances. Mr. Deutsch, would you give us your review, please?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Property taxes are current. There are no sewer charges due on vacant land. Persons that have a 10% or more ownership interest in Avalon Property Construction LLC are Ivan Kabakis, providing an address of 3 Paterson Avenue, Eldon, New Jersey. As indicated on the survey prepared by J.P. Maselli Surveying and dated February 4th, 2016, the parcel is fronted at 75 feet along Atlantic Street. A rear lot line also measures 75 feet, and western and eastern lot lines that measure 100 feet each. The site has area 7,500 square feet for 0.18 acres. The site is located on the southern side of Atlantic Street between Court Street to the west and Marshall Street to the east. Sorry about that, one moment please. The survey also indicates the parcel is a flat elevation. The 2-story dwelling indicating the parcel has been removed. A 2.5-story frame dwelling and detached garage exists on the property to the east, and to the west there exists on the lot a 2-story dwelling on the shared eastern property line. Evans Architects has prepared a 6-page site plan dated June 26, 2020. Sheet number S1 is the proposed site plan and indicates the concrete sidewalk detail, the concrete vertical curb, the seepage pit detail, the water and sanitary sewer connections, the shrub and tree planting details, the tax map, the zoning ordinance data, the grading and utility site plan, and the proposed site plan and lighting. A note of the plan indicates that the entire site and site perimeter is to be equipped with video security throughout public areas and site lighting along the traveled public way and parking areas. Surveillance cameras to connect to the City of Paterson Police Department system. The R zone of the Area 11 redevelopment plan is a residential high-medium density zone and permits 12-unit dwellings. Each dwelling unit must have 1,400 square feet of lot area. The applicant's proposal for a 12-unit dwelling requires 12 times 1,400 square feet or 16,800 square feet of lot area. As the lot has 7,500 square feet of lot area, a variance is requested. The site plan indicates that the proposed building is set back 8.71 feet from the cantilevered second floor to the front property line, 16 feet and 10 inches from the rear property line, 4 feet from the western property line, and 20 feet from the eastern side property line. The applicant proposes one curb cut with a cleared apron width of 25 feet. The applicant has not indicated on the plans that this proposed driveway is on the property line with adjacent lot 11 to the east, and that a driveway currently exists on the shared property line of lot 11 and lot 10, the subject of this application. Additionally, the proposed location of the stop sign on the right-of-way is in front of the lot 11 driveway. The 3-foot landscape separation between the driveway and the property line is not provided, and the existing catch basin in the street is at risk as vehicles will be driving upon it when entering and exiting the proposed driveway of lot 10. The city engineer will comment on this. Sheet number S2 is the site plan with soil erosion details and notes. A permit is required from the Hudson Essex Passaic Soil Conservation Service prior to final approval. Sheet number A1 are the floor plans. The building has a first floor footprint of 51 feet in width by 63 feet in length. The first floor indicates that 7 of the proposed 12 parking spaces are located beneath the second floor overhang of the building. Space number 1 may be difficult to access in one turning maneuver as it is located parallel to the front property line. Spaces 9, 10, 11, and 12 are tandem parking spaces located against the rear of the property line. A 376 square foot open space area is proposed on the southwest corner of the property. 4 studio units are proposed on the first floor. Each unit has direct access to a sidewalk that leads to the parking area. Access into the building is from the middle of the eastern side of the building and leads to a mailbox area in the lobby and to the stairs to the upper floors. The first 4 studio units have square footage of 326, 333, and 443 square feet. Each studio unit contains a full bathroom, a kitchen area, a living and dining area, and an exterior paved patio. Sheet number A2 indicates the first floor plans for the basement and the second and third floors. The basement indicates a gym and community area of 664 square feet, a restroom, a refuse and recycling room, a laundry room, and an electrical room and a mechanical room. The second and third floor plans are identical in layout, and each floor indicates 4 two-bedroom units for a total of 8 two-bedroom units. Each of the 8 two-bedroom units contain 903 square feet and a full bathroom, a mechanical closet, a kitchen, and a living room, and a dining room. Sheet number A3 are the building elevations for the left side of the building and for the front of the building. The left side elevation indicates the parking lot, the 4 doors to each of the first 4 studio units, and the main access door into the building on the upper floors. The first floor indicates a brick facade on the first floor and a vinyl and mostly stucco finish on the upper floors. 6 sets of double windows are located on the second and third floors. The front elevation indicates the driveway and the first parking spot. The building is cantilevered over 7 of the 12 parking spaces. The first floor indicates a brick facade with 1 window. The second and third floors have a vinyl and mostly gray stucco finish. 4 sets of double windows are on each of the second and third floors. The building has a top height of 35 feet. Sheet number A4 are the right side and rear building elevations. The right side elevation indicates the first 4 studio units have a sliding door to the exterior patio areas and a surrounding brick facade. The second and third floors have a gray stucco finish except for a brick area where the stairwell is located. Single and double windows are located on both the second and third floors. The rear elevation indicates the tandem parking spaces. The rear of the building has a brick facade and one window on the first floor. The second and third floors have a vinyl and gray stucco exterior. This is a flat roof building. Variances are required for lot area, 16,800 square feet required, and 7,500 square feet provided. Minimum lot width is 95 feet is required and 75 feet exists. Front yard setback as a minimum of 20 feet is required and 8.71 feet to the cantilevered second floor is proposed. A minimum rear yard setback of 25 feet is required and a rear yard of 16 feet and 10 inches is proposed. Exceeding the maximum lot coverage is 40% permitted and 50% is proposed. Open space, 2,600 square feet required and 1,040 square feet of open space and amenity space proposed. And off-street parking, 16 spaces required and 12 spaces proposed. It shall be the responsibility of the applicant and or the preparer of the plan to obtain a letter from the city engineer indicating the plans have been satisfactorily reviewed prior to the plans being released to the construction official. Surrounding land uses. This proposal is in the Lackawanna section of the city. The area is composed primarily of older, mainly multi-unit dwellings in the 2.5-story range in fair condition. Lot sizes are mainly 2,500 square feet or 5,000 square feet. In conclusion, the applicant estimates the approximate cost of this proposal at approximately $1.2 million. That is your staff review for this proposal, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you, Mr. Deutsch. Mr. Maricondo?
Yes, good evening again, Commissioner. Don Maricondo, again, thank you for a special meeting hearing tonight. Avalon Properties is a developer that's experienced within the city of Paterson and elsewhere in terms of developing and managing real estate in the city. This is a site, as you have seen through Mr. Deutsch's report, which is in the hospital redevelopment zone, and that part of the redevelopment plan, which permits higher density residential usage. So we are before you tonight with a permitted use. Again, the hospital redevelopment zone, this board has been instrumental in taking that redevelopment plan from the governing body made many years ago now and really running with it, so to speak, in terms of giving developers the opportunity to provide the type of housing and small businesses in some cases that the plan envisioned. Again, the proximity to St. Joseph's Hospital for employees to live nearby within walking distance is crucial, but also gives residents who are not hospital employees the opportunity to live within close proximity to public transportation, as well as all of the business opportunities which we have along the South Paterson Business Corridor. So it really serves multi-purposes in that sense to develop housing in this area. And this is, I think, an excellent example of that type of development where the applicant is coming before you with a reasonable number of units, 3/4 of the parking required, and in fact enough parking to have each unit have a parking space, which Mr. Evans will detail. So with that being said, we're going to call Mr. Evans as our first witness.
I'm sorry, you're going to call Mr. Evans
And the applicant, Mr. Kavakis.
Okay, so call Mr. Evans first, please.
Yes.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm testimony about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Say your full name for the record.
Matthew Evans, architect planner, 470 Chamberlain, Paterson, New Jersey.
We accept him as an expert witness, and Matt, I'm going to ask you to lean into the microphone and speak up, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Evans, you'll be testifying from both architectural and planning perspective this evening, is that right?
Yes.
Obviously, you've heard Mr. Deutsch's report. You've had an opportunity to review it in advance, of course. Give us an overview of the site in terms of its present condition and how we'd like to develop it.
Okay, sharing the screen now. We have the first sheet is sheet S1. I'll zoom in a little bit on this. The site location, as mentioned by Mr. Deutsch, is between Marshall and Court. Our property 75 by 100. We have the proposed layout of the site. Let me see if I can, I think that's, yeah. So we have the proposed layout of the site. We have parking, a drive aisle, and then we have the 12-unit building. And the shaded area above the parking is the upper floors of the apartment above. The entrance is on Atlantic Street, and the driveway is basically to the south of the site. And as mentioned by Mr. Deutsch, right now it's not showing any buffer between the drive aisle and the property line. I can just go into that real quick. Go to our floor plan. Looking at the floor plan, we show 7 feet here. This is underneath the building. There's the parking to the left, and then the main entry to the right. So we have 7 feet between the parking and the entrance. A little more to the entrance, but to the wall of the building. So that's 7 feet. We can make that 4 feet and have 3 feet buffer along the drive aisle. That would allow us to have either arborvitaes or plantings and a screen fence or stockade fence along the property line there. So if this would be approved, we would make that amendment to the plan. The parking is shown basically to the rear, under the building, as I mentioned, and then we have some green space, some open space for the tenants in the back, with a walkway to the rear of the building.
That's overall about 1,000 square feet open space. Is that outside and indoor, or?
Yeah, that's different amenity space. Right. There's a basement which has a fitness room. I'll go into in a minute. So the first floor we have basically 4 studio apartments. We have it all handicap accessible, and there are 333, 326, and 443 is the front apartment. They're all studios on the first floor. We have landscaping in the front of the building, all green area, as you can see in the front. Then on the side we have paper patios for those units, the ground floor units on the first floor. And you can see that there's a brick dwelling, masonry dwelling next door, basically almost to the property line in the front, and it is on the property line to the south on our property, sharing the side yard. We have a main stair when you come in with mailboxes, storage area, and then we go to the, I'll show you the basement floor plan. This is sheet A2. We show the gym, and it's a community area. We have 664 square feet down in the finished basement area. Then we have storage and refuse area in the to the front, and then we have laundry facilities, utilities, electric room, and then we have a powder room for people using the amenity space so they can have a shared bathroom on the lower level. Then we get to the second and third floor plan. Basically, the second and third are the same footprint, same layout. So just going through the second floor, we have the main stair, as I mentioned, and then there's 4 entry doors for each apartment. So, looking at the apartments, we have, zoom in on this one, 201, 301. We have a large king-size bed and big bedroom here, queen size in the other bedroom. We have 1 bathroom, full bath that has a shared door for the 1 bedroom. Then we have a nice open living, dining, and kitchen area. All the units have their own mechanical. And that's consistent with all these apartments. So we have large bedrooms large open living dining for, same with, unit 202, 203, and then we have unit 204. So those would be, the floor plan layout for the units. We go to the elevations, and, we have, let me see, we have the left side elevation. This would be looking under at the parking, looking at the left side, so we have a mix of materials. We have gray stucco, we have Anderson windows with a black trim finish on those, and then we have different architectural detailing, coping, and different mix of materials on all that. We have a perimeter fence and wall screening. And let's see what else we have here. So this would be the front elevation on Atlantic Street. You can see the parking below. And we have just broke up that facade to give it a little character with different materials, stepping the building back and having different massing to give it more curb appeal. And then we have the right side elevation, even though it's on the side property line. We still detailed it with those, showing those rear patios for each of those studio apartments in the side. That's the right side, and then the rear, you can see similar to the front, but showing the parking and circulation throughout the site. I can show you a photograph. Can you see that? I think that's...
Yes, yes.
Okay, so here's a similar project, same type of building. This was built on 326 East 16th Street. So this is the same, this is what you're, pretty much what you're gonna get with a landscape bed in the front, buffer, fence, and then the parking below, and then the mix of materials and just the different character, aesthetic, curb appeal that we provide for that type of building.
And of course, all the exterior conditions that you're utilizing are based on what the hospital redevelopment zone tells us we need to do. Right.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, you can see that by the windows and the materials we're using, it's definitely going to be a very aesthetic improvement to the neighborhood.
Right.
Going back to the first page. So, going through some of the variances, looking at the minimum lot area, you're seeking a variance for that. Then we have the lot width. We would be seeking a variance for lot width and lot area. And then the front yard setback, we have 20 feet is required. We have 8.71, that would be to the second floor. But as I mentioned, you could see many of these houses and structures are basically zero lot line condition on Atlantic Street. You have the one next door to the left and one next door to the right. So we're set back from the other structures, and so we give it a little bit of appeal by setting it back. We have the rear yard setback 25 feet. Then we have 16'10", that's to the second floor. So as I mentioned, we still have a good green area and parking in the back, so we were able to make the most of that space. And lot coverage, we're at 40% is the max. We're at 50%, so we're within 10% of the lot coverage requirements. So I think it's de minimis in nature of what we proposed. Floor area ratio, we meet that criteria, 1.2. And then the open space, we need 2,600 square feet of open space. We have 1,040 square feet. So as I mentioned, we have community area, amenity space in the basement, in the rear. Some of those studios have their own little terraces, so that's given a plus. So we did a little bit of a trade-off between parking and open space, but I felt that the parking is in the area would be something we would want to consider.
So we provided one parking space for every unit, if every unit requires a space.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we have low intensity units and pretty much studios and some 2 bedrooms. So, don't think that it would be, that much big of a demand on parking and, nowadays with Ubers and rideshare, really, people aren't driving like in the previous.
Of course, we're directly nearby the main bus fodder along the South Paterson as well.
Yeah, so we're close to Marshall Street, we're close to Main Street, and there are some amenities in the area. We have, Garrett Mountain, Lambert Castle's nearby, and then there's I think the ball field on,
Brandy's Oval.
Yeah, Brandy's Oval is right about a block away, next.
And I think what another important factor in the hospital zone is that we meet the height requirements in storage. There's no attempt here to construct above and beyond what's provided for, is that right?
Right, so a lot, like along Atlantic or Pacific and Court, a lot of these buildings are 2 or 3 story buildings, and 3 stories is pretty much, what people are developing. Even a 2-family would be 3 stories today.
So we're saying, basically conforming there to the surrounding multi-family dwellings.
Yes.
And there are other multi-family buildings in the area?
Yes, there's on 4th Street, basically, would be, there's a big development down at Court and
Matt, can I ask you to speak up a little bit, please?
Yeah, there's more larger development of multifamily on in Camden, 4th Street, and Leslie, and also Barclay Street. So there's a lot of a mix of residential and mixed use in the area.
And there have been some recent approvals along Barclay that are coming down the pike around the hospital area, is that right?
Yes, in Marshall Street, we had a previous approval for, I think it was 28 units on Marshall Street, which has just been a few blocks away. So this is approximately 6 square footage, but we'd be seeking 12 units, which is, I believe, more fitting with the neighborhood.
So it's in smaller scale in terms of ratio and proportion to square footage in comparison to some of the other approved projects.
Yes.
Okay. And you indicated also, no other variances that are created of it and, what you described tonight, and, the use is permitted.
Yeah, so some of those are pre-existing non-conforming, and also we have the variances based on the nature of the lot. I believe that this use is in keeping with the Area 11 redevelopment zone, and it would not negatively impact the neighborhood, and it has adequate off-street parking, open space, and aesthetic appeal, and would not the benefits would outweigh any negative impact from this development.
Thank you. That's all I have this time, Madam Chair.
Okay, you have another witness?
Yes, I have Mr. Gabarkis, the applicant.
Yes, please.
Please raise your right hand.
Yes,
You swear affirm testimony you're about to give us the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Say your full name for the record.
Ivan Gabarkis.
Can you spell your last name?
Cabarcas.
Okay, and then I'm gonna ask you as well to try to keep your voice up to project as you answer if you could. You're the principal owner of Avalon Properties Construction, is that right?
That's correct.
And as such, you're fully familiar with this project and you've heard all the testimony tonight?
Yes, I have.
Okay, and give us a little background about your experience in Paterson. I think you're born and raised here as well, right?
I was born and raised in Paterson. I'm very familiar with Paterson. We've done a lot of projects in Paterson. We've built a lot of multi-units and, single residential houses as well. And, I love the city. It's, helped me out a lot. So whatever I can put back, I'm more than happy to do so.
And Mr. Evans' plan, as you've heard tonight, details quite a bit of it, an effort, I think, is a fair way to describe it, to provide amenities, provide a nice aesthetic appearance, provide as much parking as possible. So you're satisfied with this project? Good to know? Okay, so we put a lot of thought into it, and, I'm happy with the outcome. Okay. All right. Anything else you wish to add? Other than that, we're ready to go in terms of any questions, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. I'm having there's a technical problem here with, Commissioner, Figueroa. He said, hold on one second. She said she can't see the owner, so I'm wondering if IT can help her out.
Well, he's on the bigger screen now. Does that make any difference, or?
Commissioner Figueroa, can you see him now?
Yes, I was just seeing the drawing, but thank you.
Okay, all right, there you go.
Thank you.
All right, so now at this time, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr.
I was
Marco.
just saying, he was in the upper right corner only, I apologize.
All right, so at this time, I'm gonna open it up to the public. If anyone in the public has any questions of either Mr. Evans or, I hope I'm gonna say your name right, Mr. Cabarcas?
So, I know, yeah,
All right, okay. Please call in at 973-321-1579. 973-321-1579. The meeting ID number 711-680-001. I will allow 2 minutes for call-ins, 3 minutes for questions. Okay, questions only, thank you.
We have no callers at this time.
Okay, so then at this time, I'm gonna open up to the commissioners. Commissioners, any questions of either one of these 2 gentlemen?
I have questions.
Yeah, Commissioner Brooks?
Matt, I have a question for you. I rode by this place, today, and it looks to me like everything in that neighborhood, the houses next door, I know it says that it's 35 feet as far as the building height is concerned, and so you're meeting requirements, the minimum requirements of 35 feet in height. This 12 family is not going to be higher than the 2 families on either side of this building?
No, it's going to be in keeping with the height. I don't know the exact heights of the buildings, but, I don't think it would negatively impact. It's not like a 4 or 5 story building. It's a flat roof building also, so it's going to, we're not looking to get even additional attic space or any other space out of it. So whatever's on the 3 floors would be, dedicated to, living space.
Okay, so you're saying that it's the same height as the rest of the buildings?
Yeah, it's definitely within the brief, a lot of those buildings are older and high ceilings, so they would be in keeping with that. So it wouldn't be out of character.
Tell me where the open space is and where is that open space that you're referring to?
So we have open space in the rear here, in the backyard, next to the parking there, and then we have,
Are you talking, go back there, you're saying, you're not counting the parking space as open space, right?
whatever's the hatch, see the hatch green area here?
Yeah, okay, all right.
We're calling it green. So that area there is part of it. Then we have these terraces in the back for each individual unit. They have their own separate, ground floor, little terrace area. Then we have space in the front, so, would be dedicated, as I mentioned in the photograph, you could see the green space, which would be in front of the building. So it's set back, and it also has some green space to it.
So where's the green space? I don't see any shrubberies or anything in the back.
right here, and, let me see, this is not the landscape plan, let me just zoom out here.
Where?
Push it over to the
Let me
landscape.
see if I have it on the-
Okay.
Yeah, so you can see a little more. We have, basically shrubs in the
Okay.
front, and then we have the grass area in the front too. And then you can see, there's shrubs along with, you can see those, right? So that would be all dedicated for land, green space in the front, green space in the back, decks, and then we have amenity space in the basement, so we could.
Can you describe that basement amenity space again? I think it's very good.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Commissioner.
let me go to it. Give me a second. So, we have a fitness room in the back, or it could be, community space. We have, it's a large space, it's 664 square feet, that would be for the tenants. And then we have storage, laundry, and then other, space, accessory space needed for the building itself. So that would be the extent of the, indoor amenity space.
So we have a combination of both indoor amenity and active recreational space, as well as passive outside.
Yes.
Okay. So the building coverage, now, the building coverage, that's gonna be the same, not the same as the other properties, but it's gonna be, right to the front line of the property, right?
Well, ours is to the front, I mean, ours, we're set back, you can see, if you're looking at the site plan, you can see the building next door to the left, let me zoom in a little bit. He's got a garage on the rear line and the sideline.
Right.
Basically, all the space here, and then he's got the building right along the property line, 172 that is, so it's right on the front property line. Then we have number 162, brick building, it's on the left top there, about the property line, and the front with a little couple steps going up, to that building.
So in fact, our front yard setback is better in terms of compliance.
Yeah, we set back, we give them, a little breathing room, little green passive recreation space.
Our front setback is how big then?
We're almost 10 feet, which is consistent with, when you have other buildings along the street that are, non-conforming, you want to keep within that non-conformity and not, set the building 20, 30 feet back, and then, you have a different type of character on the lot.
So this concept gives us breathing space off the front property line, but doesn't make us go out of conformity to any great extent.
Correct.
Okay, because Matt, you do realize that you have 8 variances here. That's a lot of variances for a 12 family unit. It almost means that property size does not really dictate that a building of 12 units should be built on something like that, my opinion. Thank you very much.
I respectfully disagree with that. We do realize, of course, there are variances, but we think that several of them are minimal, but also we do believe that based upon our testimony, we've covered the positive criteria for why this is very, very much a needed use and doesn't create the negative hardship that might be contemplated otherwise. Other developers have talked about developing this site in the past. They've talked about many more units, and we've rejected that concept, even coming into our offices. And we feel that this one is very reasonable in all due respect. We understand that there are no variances, and we tried to address each and every one of them. Even our building coverage, as Matt indicated, is only 10% over the requirement. We meet the floor area ratio, the density concept, and we were very careful to meet that requirement. We comply with height and stories, which is crucial in a redevelopment zone. Again, we think these setbacks, in most cases, are actually making more sense than strict compliance, as Matt testified to, with those setback requirements. So we understand the variances that are being sought. That's why we're here, along with our site plan review. But we do believe that this is a really positive and relatively conservative approach to this site.
Any other commissioners have any?
Yes, Madam Chair?
Is that Commissioner Ceballos?
Yes.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Matt, I understand at number 8, we talk about area 11 redevelopment plan, I understand that. But you should be kind enough to walk us through to number 10. The applicant proposed one curb cut with a floor apron between 25 feet and it goes on to drive the rest. So be kind enough to explain the commissioners what exactly we're dealing with here.
Sure, absolutely. We did touch upon it in our opening testimony, and Mr. Deutsch and Mr. Evans and I did discuss that earlier today, and we think what we're presenting is a very viable solution and answer to that question. So Matt, you want to run through how we're going to resolve that again?
Okay, so going through, I'll show you the first floor plan. Looking at, this is a zoom in on the first floor plan, but you can see the parking to the left, and you see the building to the right. In between the parking and the building, we have 7 feet. That's basically the walkway between the parking and the building. What we do is normally we show 3 or 4 feet for a walkway. We have a little larger here. So with that, we can reduce this to 4 feet. Taking that 7 feet, making it 4 feet, we can add that 3 feet along the drive aisle and slide the parking over, and then we have 3 feet of landscape buffer between the adjacent property and then we shift that curb cut over 3 feet too. So that would give us the opportunity to allow us to provide buffer and not and be more in conformity with the side yard for the drive aisle, and we would make that a condition of if this were to be approved.
And that also, correct me if I'm wrong, but that would also be part of what the engineering department would look at too on this application.
Yes.
And you'll be bound, willing to be bound by any tweaks that Fred Margolin might offer.
Yes.
And again, we would ask if Mr. Deutsch has any comments on our proposal on this subject. But again, we would work with Mr. Deutsch in terms of an amended plan and with the engineering department. We're confident that it can work, be very functional in that regard.
Thank you very much, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Any other commissioners? Commissioners?
No, I have a question.
Is that Commissioner Fisher?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead, Commissioner.
No, I said I don't have a question, that's what we're here, right?
Okay.
You don't have a question, okay. All right, so no more questions from the commissioners? Okay, then I'm gonna ask Mr. Mariconis, you have no more witnesses?
That will conclude our testimony. I can sum up briefly, Madam Chair.
Okay, please sum up.
Thank you very much. Again, we offer Mr. Evans' testimony and the applicants here, another developer with a proven track record who really is has an opportunity here to take on a site to develop it in a reasonable and I think again relatively conservative approach to this particular parcel. Frankly, it's ideally suited for what the hospital redevelopment zone calls for, promotes, and really pushes, which is the housing in close proximity to the hospital, in close proximity to the South Paterson Business District, providing most of the parking required, meeting the aesthetic requirements we think in a very outstanding way as per Matt's description on his sample building that he showed you tonight. Again, very good amenity space, active recreational space on site, passive recreational space on site, and passive recreational space on the outside. So we feel we've done quite a bit with this lot size. It's an opportunity to provide the needed housing that the zone calls for. We're in very close proximity to public transportation and the walking district of the South Paterson corridor. So we believe it's a win-win application in that regard. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I just have one quick question, Mr. Aquaviva. Okay, so should there be a motion to approve this application this evening? Should we call for the condition that they move back that 7-foot width to 4?
On the side driveway, yes.
On the side driveway?
Yes.
Okay, so that there would be a landscaping, buffer area that could be applied? Okay, alright. Would any commissioner like to make a motion on this
Madam Chair?
application? Yes,
On the application of Avalon Property Constructions LLC, 3 Paterson Avenue, Heldon, New Jersey, 07508, a property located at 164-16A Atlantic Street, Black 5402, Lot 10. I move that the Board Attorney prepare a resolution granting site plan approval, bulk variance, city engineer, HEP Soil Conservation Service, and the condition that to reduce the driveway with the landscaping needed for this property.
okay, is that correct, Mr. Avalita? We're good with that? Okay,
That's correct, Madam Chair.
okay, great. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Fisher, roll call please.
Commissioners, Commissioner Fisher,
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks,
No.
Commissioner Savalas, Commissioner Savalas,
Well, you just made the motion, I think he's.
Commissioner Santana,
Yes?
Thank you.
Commissioner Santana,
Yes.
Commissioner Figueroa,
Yes.
and Chairwoman Norfolk.
Yes,
That's, 5 in approval, thank you.
What is the total vote, Madam Chair?
5 in approval, 1 negative.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate your consideration.
okay, congratulations. Is there any other business this evening?
No further business on my end.
Okay, Mr. Deutsch, no further business, so then I guess we're gonna have our next meeting, I'll see everyone on, the 5th, which is Wednesday. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right, great. Have a good evening. What's left of it, everyone. Thank you, Mark, for attending this evening, and, have a good night.
That motion to close, Madam Chair.
Motion to close, I make it. Second, by Commissioner Fisher, I see him. Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we gotta close. Okay.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.